welcome, brothers and sisters. Glad to be here with you. It seems that we're on track now. We've been caught up on track. We're certainly on track. We'll be waiting for the rest of them to get in here. Excuse me. Waiting for the rest of them to get in here. You know, I just believe that 10:30 is a great time to get in and to be able to talking about our points, to be on our talking points. I think it's a great time to be in. Also, brothers and sisters, don't forget, please don't forget, we have our ways that you can support us. There's MHotep University. That's Prince MHotep University. And this teaches African herbal science and medicine. Prince MHotep University. And we're talking about Captain Joseph. We'll be talking about Captain Joseph tonight. So you'll be able to see the caliber of men that had been unrighteously informed by the federal government, right? Because we're the righteous. Is that right? And you and I are the righteous of God. And we know that this government is an enemy of God. That's what we know. So we're going to be talking about that. I want you to get the mindset of how they went against the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And the reason had everything to do with power. They wanted power, so they went against the government because they wanted power. And I want you to be able to see this in the small lecture that we're going to do. And this may be a short show because he's not significant, but he's only significant in the sense that the government did him the unrighteous deed of giving him sinister or wicked information, right? So anyone that you work for, you have to have some trust for. And we talk about the syndrome of slavery, right? And oppression. We talk about that the syndrome. But I think it goes deeper because a person will have to want to do evil in order to convert to evil, or either able to do good because of their interaction with evil. And this is the thing that I want you to understand. And you have to understand it, brothers and sisters. Because if you don't understand that, we're finished as a people. This is something that we have to understand altogether. So the University of, Prince MHotep University will help teach you those things. And also, of course, as a Muslim, you certainly need to be at the University of Islam. And Muhammad's University and the University of Islam will teach you all of these things. So you do need to be there. So one is for you to have a job, right? The first thing you must do is get from under religious bondage. You have to get from under religious bondage. And a lot of us are under religious bondage today. Now also, we have the holistic practice and products. We have holistic practice and products. We want to certainly have those things, right? We want to certainly have those things for our people so that they'll know that the brothers and sisters are not just sitting around not doing anything. We are active in the work that is charged unto us. Is that right or wrong? We're going to do the will of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as it was relayed to him from Master Fard Muhammad, which we believe is God in person. And that's easy for us to believe because God works through all of us. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? So we have holistic practice, and product. We'll always put these things in front of you. Ask you to go on the web so you'll be able to see it, get some understanding of what we have out there for ourselves and that we're doing for ourselves. And we got to get busy doing the work of God, brothers and sisters. That's God. We can make time for anything else except our mission in God. And it's time that you and I begin to make our mission in God. Right? We have to do that. We have to do that. God has to be the joy and center of our life and our work, brothers and sisters. We have to be ready to work for God. Because the fact of the matter is that God is the one who is responsible for us being here today. Isn't that right? And again, I don't intend to hold you long, but I must be strong. I must be strong, and I won't hold you long, but we're going to reiterate the information that the Most Honorable Muhammad has given to us. Not only that, brothers and sisters, but we're going to take that message to the black man. We're going to read one of the most important chapters that we have in the book. All of it's important. All of it's powerful. All of it's fiery. All of it's convicting, but this reading that I'm going to do you, I believe, is one of the very pillars on which the Nation of Islam is standing. And when I read it to you, just like when you hear that word, right? It should be a lamp unto your feet and a light unto your path, brothers and sisters. Isn't that right? And what you need to understand is that God has you and I here tonight. It's God that's going to give the message. It's God that's leading us to have the message, right? That should convert us, right? From our present state to a higher state every day, every second, every moment, every minute, every month, and every week, every year of our lives. Isn't that right or wrong? So I encourage you to stand. I encourage you to be the best that you can be in order for you to work for God. In the light that you decided to be a servant for the Almighty God. So let's read. We're going to get our word, message to the black man. Is that right or wrong? Our God. This message will guide us. So we're going to read this because this message should serve as our guide. The persecution of the righteous, protection of the faithful. This is page 206 in Message to the Black Man. And the Holy Quran reads in correlation to it, none dispute concerning message of Allah, but those who disbelieve. So let not their control in the land deceive them. The Holy Quran, the 40th surah and the 14th verse. The 40th surah and the 4th verse. And page 206 of Message to the Black Man, the persecution of the righteous, reads on this wise. The preceding verse is very clear. According to the Holy Quran, the truth must always be rejected and classified as foolishness by the rejectors. It is always those who consider themselves to be in the seat of authority and power in the land who reject the truth. They desire to lead others in their rejection of the truth, especially the poor man in the mud, because he is the one whom they exploit. Say that the poor people are the one that they exploit, brothers and sisters. Don't you see that today? That the poor people are the one that the enemy exploits? And their rejected behavior is similar to that of the people in the land of America today. The white man is in control and he seeks to deceive the so-called Negro. just as Pharaoh deceived the Israelites. Pharaoh had control and power over Egypt. He made a mockery of Moses, saying that Moses could not speak plainly, and he criticized Allah's offer to Israel. Pharaoh did not give the Israelites that promised land of milk and honey, fertility and riches. The white man in America is like Pharaoh in Egypt. He, the modern Pharaoh, is trying to control the 22, or rather 99 million so-called American Negroes, as Pharaoh did the Israelites in Egypt. The white man's control over the so-called Negro makes him helpless in trying to follow Allah and his servant into a land that they call their own, and where they can rule themselves as other nations are doing. The so-called Negro are deceived into thinking that their future in America will be a great one. They should accept their own Islam and try to do something for themselves as other nations are doing on land they can call their own. They have intelligence, but do not have the desire to do for themselves. Consequently, the white man of America is helping them to continue to have such foolish desires. He wants to keep the so-called Negro looking up to the white American for what he wants. And I read to you, brothers and sisters, page 206, its entirety, and then the first paragraph of 207. And the title of that is Message to the Black Man, Persecution of the Righteous. Again, that's 206 in Message to the Black Man. So, brothers and sisters, as we can see, you and I are in a battle of truth. And the white man has a desire to rule us. Is that right or wrong? He has a desire to rule us, and we've got to be wise. We've got to be steadfast. We've got to be unmovable, and we have to be always abounding in the work, right, of our God. Isn't that right? The same work that Jesus was in, the same business that Jesus was in, we got to be in the same business. There's no separation, brothers and sisters. The white man is not going to ask you and ask me what our religion is if he comes upon us to kill us. We have to be ready. Isn't that right? We have to be ready, huh? And there's only one way that we could be ready. We got to be ready in the power of God to defend ourselves to the point and to the place that we'll make the white man himself repent. Isn't that right? Huh? We defend ourselves in righteousness, brothers and sisters. Right? You keep a Bible in your hand. The word and your help is right in that Bible. That's right. The word and your help is right in that Bible. And that Bible is an amazing instrument for you to have. There should be no Muslims without a Bible, because in it is a difference between life and death. There's no Muslim that should not have the message to the black man in America. This is your knowledge, your guide. This should guide you. It's the very thing that opens the door for you, brothers and sisters. And you have to understand it. And I'm sure you understand. And you should also be familiar with the Quran. For how are you going to know and pull out what's needed for a brother or sister when they're down, right? If you haven't been reaching out, right, for yourself and put within you the word, right, that God is responsible for giving. No matter what the religion, no matter what your culture is, no matter what your nature is, your custom, no matter what your religion is, spiritually, the same God is in you all, above us all, and through us all. Isn't that right? Yes, sir. That's right. So, brothers and sisters, the thing that I put before you here today is to say that we've got those among us. You have to see it. There are a lot of those among us that are unholy, that are practice unholy things in between us. When I say unholy, I mean unrighteous. And when I say unrighteous, brothers and sisters, I'm saying anyone that'll do something against the will of God. We got to be on God's side. I think we just talked about that, didn't we, brothers and sisters? Because if we're on God's side, then God is on our side. Is that right or wrong? So we got to be on the side of God, so God will be on our side and defend us against our enemies. Isn't that right? And teach us the way, give us the mindset to defend ourselves. Isn't that right or wrong? For us to protect our family. For what man is it among us that will not protect our family? And what man is it that if he asks God for a piece of bread, that he give him a stone? Or if he asks him for a blessing, that he give him a cursing? Huh? But oh, what wretched man are we? Huh? And some women are wretched too. Oh, what wretched men and women are we? Huh? So with our minds, we can call on God. And with our bodies, we can be the handiwork of God whenever need be. Isn't that right or wrong? Because we are God's handiwork, and God that dwells within us, we also a part of him. And he, when we're on his side, will give us common sense and wisdom to do for ourselves the one thing that the white man or this country, because they're both the same, they're used synonymously, while the country is unable or unwilling to defend us, we're able to defend ourselves in every which way that God will have us to do it. Is that right or wrong? And so God, the thing that I like about him is that he's special. Huh? He's special. He's amazing, because he will work things out whenever we are in a position where we feel that we're helpless, whenever we're in a position where we're confused. If we keep our hand on the grinding chain, isn't that right? Isn't that what the old folks say? Keep your hand on the grinding chain and keep your hand in God's hands. In other words, you keep working, right, toward the mark of the high calling, right? We have to keep pressing toward the mark of the high calling. And if we do that, then God will meet us right where we are. Isn't that right? So we got to be wise. We got to be steadfast. We got to be unmovable. And the other part of it is we got to be always abounding in the word. Isn't that right? Of God. We have to be reading. If we don't get something on the inside, then God's not going to open us up and force us with some knowledge, brothers and sisters. We got to read, and we got to live a life. And by reading and studying and living life and setting an example, then other men will say, what must I do to be saved? Isn't that right? What must I do to have the mind that you have? Huh? So he said, let this same mind be in you, which is in Christ Jesus. And what Jesus say? He said, ye are not only heirs, but joint heirs, of the inheritance that the Father have given to me. And not only does he say that, but he has said, ye are my brothers, all that do the will of my Father, and what I have done, ye shall do greater things. Isn't that right, brothers and sisters? So we got to be steadfast, unmovable, and always abounding in the work of God, which is found in Christ Jesus, our brother. Isn't that right? He said he's our brother. So we have to be working and doing God's will. Now, brothers and sisters, just remember that we don't preach hate. This is not hate talk. This is love talk. If I didn't love you, I wouldn't tell you. And also, if I didn't love you, I wouldn't tell you the truth. So we know what situation that we're in. Isn't that right? We're in a situation now with a nation that is going haywire, right? The white man is getting his guns. The white man is getting together, right? The white man is organizing. The white man is formulating. I'm just trying to tell you what he's doing. This whole scrimmage, for instance, that Jake Paul is doing against Mike Tyson is all out of racism, right? Disrespectful, how he disrespected Muhammad Ali, right? And this is a build-up. All you have to do is watch the young generation. They'll let you know what's going on. The white man is passing the torch of racism and white privilege, right? And mockery and satanic actions and behaviors right on into his younger generation. He's passing it. Racism is what makes this country great for the white man. For it was made for the white man. It was made by whites for the benefit of whites. And you have to understand that when you and I were brought over here, we were brought over here as slaves. That's not going to change. The white man's not going to love you, hate you yesterday and love you today. It doesn't work that way. And some of you are probably saying, well, my wife is white, my girlfriend is white, my boyfriend is white. Well, that's your business. If you're dumb enough to do that and put yourself in danger, that's your business. But we're not talking racism. That's why I want you to get off of that. We're talking self-defense. And you should be able to stand up and be in a position where you won't have to worry about something happening to you or happening to your people or happening to your children. And let's be clear. Let's be clear. They're still killing us today. We have to say that. Let's be clear. So we got to be wise. And here's one of the ways we're going to do it. We're not going to give them an excuse, right, to open the door to this race war, because it's already open. It's already going on. You just haven't walked through it yet. He's already walked through it. But what I'm telling you is while we while we're in this period, we need to teach our children, because you can't protect your children everywhere. So we need to teach our children how to talk to the police, how to be respectful. We need to teach them that, right? So when the time comes, they won't have any excuse. Any excuse. Our children won't have any excuse, and the people that are committing evil, black and white, won't have any excuse when God raises us up against them. And God is going to do that. God will defend us. It's God that will be our battle axe. God will do that. So you ain't even got to worry about it. You don't even have to worry about it. But we have to be wise. We have to be unspotted from the world. And we have to protect our family. That's God's will for us to protect our family. So just keep that in mind, that we have to protect our family. Now, we all talk about our subject tonight, brothers and sisters. It's a very, very, very strong subject. We just talked about who John Ali was, right? But now we're going to talk about our latest subject. Talk about our latest subject. So, because and I want to say this. We talked about John Ali. Time to talk about Captain Joseph, who these were working together. But Joseph, in a sense, was really oblivious to what was going on initially. But he helped the climate get formed. And then after that, he began to find out that he was working as an informant for the FBI, because John Ali gave his identity to Captain Joseph. And he began to break up the Muslim movement by saying that there was some illegal activities going on in it. So here, John Ali was an individual that looked like us, but was working for the white man. Now, and when I say the white man, I mean the U.S. government, who was moved by racism. At that time, they were under J. Edgar Hoover. I don't want you to think that because J. Edgar Hoover is dead, that racism is dead. That's not true. Because Strom Thurmond is dead, that racism is dead. That's not true. The white people, if they taught their children for the next 100 years not to be racist, they couldn't stop them from being racist, all because of how this country was organized and formed. All because of how it was organized and formed. So I want you to understand that. It's important that you understand that. And so when we see Captain Joseph, who later became an agent for the CIA and FBI, and used it as an excuse to make sure that he would attack Minister Malcolm, because it had nothing to do with what was going on. John Ali wasn't the brightest man, but he was loyal to the Nation of Islam. But they could use it. Remember, if you don't get something down in you that's deeply rooted, they can use you. Any kind of evil can use you. So that means you got a lot of work to do, brothers and sisters, to organize your mind. And that mind be organized toward God. You got a lot of work to do. A whole lot of work to do. With that being said, I want you to understand that Captain Joseph was used, because of his love of the nation, he was used as an informant. He wasn't that way in the beginning. But once they used him as an informant because of his anger against Minister Malcolm, then they converted him because he was so angry against Minister Malcolm. And not only that, but he was angry against the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, because they refused to follow the will of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who knew that by killing Minister Malcolm, you would destroy the entire Nation of Islam. And this is the reason why he told them to leave that brother alone. Don't touch him. But when you got brothers and sisters that are envy about position, they'll do anything to get it. Just another form of politics. And when they could get Captain Joseph, who was a loyal to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, at that point you could see how everything dwindled down. At that point on, you can see how it dwindled down. I don't have much for you today on this subject, because we know that John Ali was the one to entice Captain Joseph. And once you get to Captain Joseph, you have to understand where Captain Joseph came from. And a lot of those guys came from very difficult areas. Very, very difficult areas. But we need to understand where they come from so that archaeologically and forensically, we can look at it and sort of get an idea of where they are or who they were as people. How did they come up? What's the foundation? Were they able to overcome those insurmountable odds or embrace the better part of themselves and the worst so they'll be used as good teaching students, a good teaching mechanism to other individuals that could use their lives as an example, right? And I believe it's Paul said that be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. In other words, don't allow your situation, your conditions to predict who you are. Don't allow that. What you should be doing at the moment, instead of letting them predict the situation, predict who you are, is being able to transform those situations. Is that right or wrong? And that's the place that we got to be. So Captain Joseph is a very interesting brother. Very interesting brother. Excuse me, brother and sister. And we need to find out much more about this brother because really we don't know very much about him. And besides, he's not very talked about in the Nation of Islam. So, and I want you to understand that. So the little information that we do have, we learn the information through Wallace Waradeen Muhammad. And we learned it through the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and we learned it through Minister Malcolm. But it's funny that you can't really find anything on Captain Joseph. Now, when you go to, and this is the reason why we brought him up, the National Press Secretary put Nation of Islam, John Ali. Then you'll begin to find some stuff on Captain Joseph. And that's what's important, that you got to know how to research these things. You got to know how to research it. John Ali was very instrumental in the takedown of the Nation of Islam from the inside, but he couldn't do it from the outside because he needed Wallace to do that. So you type in John Ali, National Press Secretary, you can't find these people. You look up John Ali. You may see Minister Malcolm, you may make reference to them in the media, but you don't have anything on them. And I find it strange that someone could serve in the Nation of Islam as the National Press Secretary and not be anywhere where you can really find them, really find some decent information on them. And there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. The reason is, and they only do like articles on them or whatever, but the reason you can't find them is because they were put in. See, they were worried about Minister Malcolm coming out of prison in the late 40s, early 50s. They were worried about Minister Malcolm then. They were worried about him then. You have to understand that. This didn't just start with the Nation of Islam. So they were already putting people in this path. Already putting people there. So you have to understand that. That's very important for you to understand. Now, the last thing that I want to say is this. When you're doing your research, do some inner reflection so you can understand, because that's the need. I need us to understand why the nation will be broken down. And I'll use this particular example here. If you saw someone on the street, be it any drug addict, prostitute, or anyone working the street, and you came to them and let them know that they're in a vicious cycle and they're being trapped to do evil against their people. Do you have a mother? Do you have a daughter? Do you have a brother? Do you have a father? And you have them to reflect. A lot of them don't have this. A lot of them don't know that the behavior is abnormal, right? And if you can get somebody that can win them over, talk them and pull them in the nation and have pride as they pull them in. This is Captain Joseph in the early stages. It's not until 1957, I think it is, when they get, I believe it's Eugene 2X, I believe it is. When they get Eugene 2X, and Captain Joseph see this and all the bad information that Eugene 2X is putting out, then it began to seep in what the federal government was trying to do. They try to do it through Eugene. They're still using Sunni Islam, which we have no attachment to. They won't even accept us. And then once they done that, the plan was to get other Muslims out of the nation and entice them to open up their own thing. But not because the government cared. It was an attack against the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and that was done through Captain Joseph, who loved the nation for all intents and purposes. But when they got inside, that was the beginning of the end. So, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you. I'm not going to hold you long because we've covered exactly what we need to cover, and we're already back on schedule now. But I want you to concentrate and think about what I'm saying. And if you have any other thoughts, put it in the comments. Because we teach each other. You and I teach each other. That's what we do. You know, I can't learn anything without your correction. You can't learn anything without mine. So please do reach out. Brothers and sisters, don't forget we have a Cash App, and we ask that you help. We can't make you. But in light that whatever you send, we want to send you books and articles or holistic meds, right? Whatever you can use. In some cases, clothing. Whatever you can use for your donation, we definitely want to send it. And we ask you to know the words of prayer to be praying for us. We want to have everything up. We want to make sure that we have enough money to run this place and all of those things. And we ask that you would pray with us that God will give us staying power and give us endurance to continue to fight to push this stuff out, because it's certainly necessary for it to be out. And we can't do anything other than do the work, because we're told that if we build it, that you will come. And we want you to come, brothers and sisters. Come into the ark of safety of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who will teach you to do something for yourself. Don't you worry about your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, your aunt, your uncle. Don't worry about those things. You come. For he said, the day you hear my voice, harden not your heart. And I just want to know if your heart is hardened. I just want to know if your heart is hardened. Open your heart, brothers and sisters, so that God can put the word in, right? Your heart, your heaven, so that God can put the word in. And what he put in, no man can take out. What he closed, no man can open. Isn't that right? And what he opened, no man can close. Isn't that right or wrong? So, brothers and sisters, I want to thank you. I want to tell you that I love you. If I didn't say it in the beginning, I say to you now, Assalamu alaikum. Love your family, love your wife, love your children. Keep everyone together. Love that woman or that man that's with you. You need to love them, brothers and sisters. Love that woman or man with you, because God has given them to you. God has put everyone around you, and no one has to do anything for free. No one has to be obedient unto God. But when you find one that is obedient and is good, then you should love them back, and that love should strengthen them so that you would be able to reciprocate the same spirit which is found in all of us, found in Jesus, motivated Jesus to do the work that he needed to do, so that you and I could do the very same thing, brothers and sisters. As again, I love you. Assalamu alaikum.
Hey, oh, to the world as it's been.